Good afternoon, and welcome to the 7th Annual Crystal Apple Awards. I'd like to begin by thanking a few people for making this day possible. Jen Pulliam and Joanne Wagner with Renaissance for providing lunch and dessert. Margaret Fanner-Geikis, Carrie Randall, and Rick Bozarth with Student Council for contributing to recognition. Brian Pistone and his students for videotaping the event. Christian Hockenberger and his students for photography. Steve Nemeth for his awesome musical entertainment. And last but not least, Juanine Yates and Nancy Alexachek for their organizational assistance. Whoops. A Greek writer and philosopher once said, "True teachers are those who use themselves as bridges over which they invite their students to cross, then having facilitated their crossing, joyfully collapse, encouraging them to create their own." I believe it would take all of us a second to identify that one educator who inspired us and served as our bridge in thinking differently about a particular subject matter, a specialized skill or hobby, our worldviews, or life in general. Whether it was a coach on the athletic field, a counselor in the guidance department, a teacher in the classroom, or an administrator in the office, this educator helped shape the person we are today. Connecting to our One Book, One School program, students were asked to write an essay or a poem about an educator who truly made them think differently, in light of the Steve Jobs book. As noted, for some it was thinking differently about a particular subject matter. For others, it was thinking differently about sports, a special interest, or even a future career path. Overall, students wrote about someone who, in their mind's eye, went above and beyond in making a marked difference in their lives. Please welcome our first presenter, Aaron Hartman.
As a freshman, we all must face that intimidating moment. The moment when we walk into homeroom and placed on our desk is a pass to meet with our guidance counselor. The guidance counselor who must pave the path for us to walk confidently through high school, knowing that there's someone looking out for us. The guidance counselor with whom we must entrust our deepest secrets of the classes we are taking next year and our wildest dreams of getting into our reach schools. Mr. Hill is that guidance counselor. Right. Thankfully, my first meeting with Mr. Hill was all but intimidating. Maybe it was the fact that Mrs. Hill was my kindergarten teacher, or that Mr. Hill had experience as a swimmer. Yet, underneath it all, I believe it was Mr. Hill's warm and encouraging nature that has always made me feel comfortable. Since freshman year, I have always known that I could count on Mr. Hill. To him, I wasn't just a number, or rather an HA. I was a girl who always had a ton of questions, a funny story to tell, and big dreams for the future. I have always trusted him to guide me in the right direction through my years at Shawnee, and he has certainly not failed to do so. He has always been encouraging and encouraged me to challenge myself and to reach my full potential. Mr. Hill has inspired me to think differently, which sparked the idea of asking the president to write me a college recommendation letter in the midst of the government shutdown. Mr. Hill's response was, "Hopefully if Obama is too busy, at least the First Lady will write you one." To say the least, we are still waiting for that letter. Mr. Hill has always encouraged me to take a risk and never give up, even if it seemed like the only way out. He always does his research and can come up with a solution to any problem. He knows all the ins and outs of the classes at Shawnee and has provided me with invaluable advice as to what classes to take. He always has an answer, and I have always known that if I had a burning question, I would be able to run down to his office and he would help me out. His door is always open. But with Mr. Hill, his services go beyond those on Naviance. He is truly interested in the entire person. He cares about each and every one of his students and tries to develop a personal relationship with each one. He is always encouraging and approachable and knows when the right time is to crack a joke. Mr. Hill defines an educator with character. He has an impact not only on each student who walks through his door, but on the overall atmosphere of Shawnee. Thank you for always being my #1 fan, Mr. Hill.
you go. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. Now I'd like to invite Griffin Muley to the podium to speak about his teacher.
Hello. The best part of this high school is the staff. The sports clubs and academic opportunities we get at Shawnee High School could be had at most high schools in the South Jersey area. However, the teachers here are one of a kind. I'm convinced that no other school has teachers that care for their students more than ours do. It speaks to dedication and passion of our staff. One teacher of the many that I've had and have cared for sticks out as one of the most passionate, invested, and sincere people I know. That would be Miss Bacon. My freshman year, Miss Bacon was my bio teacher. As a junior, my advanced bio teacher, and now she teaches me genetics. I find it difficult to summarize the impact Miss Bacon has had on me for the past 4 years. I dare you to find someone more in love with science than Miss Bacon is. Occasionally, Miss Bacon will get too excited and start going into details about genome this or telomerase that, and we give her a hard time for it. But the truth is, all of her students love how passionate she is about the subject she teaches. It inspires us, the students, to pay attention, and it creates energy about the subject. Miss Bacon brings a rare amount of fun and excitement to the classroom every day. In addition, Miss Bacon's influence extends beyond the classroom for many of her students. At home, I can hear her yelling at me if I don't recycle, and I know she rolls her eyes every time I skip a workout. Miss Bacon has had that kind of personal impact on all of her students. I have had many teachers in the past 4 years, and I'll have many more in the next 4, and I will not remember many of them. One of the very few exceptions will be Miss Bacon, who, through her passion, dedication, personal investment, and bizarre wisdom, has made a profound impact on my life.
Thank you, Griffin. I'd now like to invite Emily McNally to the podium.
What a Teacher Makes is a recently acclaimed poem by Taylor Mali, a slam poet and teacher for 9 years. Within it, he vehemently refutes the argument that those who can't teach. Although I'm ashamed to admit it, upon entering Shawnee, that notion was still present in the back of my mind. My nominee for the Crystal Apple Award was one of the main people responsible for crushing that myth to non-existence. That person is Mr. Joubert. Mr. Joubert taught me the power of dedication. He demonstrated just how influential a teacher can be, not only in their specialized field, but also on a personal level. For those of you who don't know, the hierarchy of choirs goes Shawnee Singers, Girls Ensemble, and Freshman Chorus, with singers being the most esteemed. My sophomore year, I auditioned and was put into Girls Ensemble, which at the time was under the direction of Mr. Joubert. Not making it into singers was definitely a disappointment, but Mr. Joubert refused to adhere to the opinion that Girls Ensemble was a lesser choir. He gave us extremely difficult pieces to challenge us, and push us to reach our full potential. Even though we were the underdogs, he still gave 110% to us and expected nothing less in return. Many of us didn't believe in ourselves, but he did. With his motivation, we were able to pull through our difficulties. My junior and senior year, I made it into singers, and Mr. Joubert's dedication is, to this day, unfaltering. We are at the top of the heap, but in no way does he allow us to become complacent in that spot. Singers is always being pushed to reach new heights. Mr. Joubert constantly gives us songs that are beyond the normal high school level. He makes us learn pieces in solfege because even though we whine about it, we walk out the door better musicians because of it. He provides us with the resources to succeed and gives us opportunities to showcase all our hard work. Again, he expects from us nothing less than our best. Mr. Joubert's dedication extends outside of the classroom as well. As the musical director for the all-school musicals, Mr. Joubert taught us that every role, no matter how small, is important to the show as a whole. just as every little note is important to the whole song. Without Mr. Joubert's influence, I would in no way be the confident performer and person that I am today. He saw my potential at times when I didn't. When I would express my doubts, he was always there with the right advice. He entrusted me with solos that at times I wasn't sure that I could pull off. But his unfaltering faithfulness in me and all of singers has made it possible for my confidence to flourish. One thing I know for sure now, those who can, teach. Mr. Joubert is a phenomenal musician and director, and we are so blessed that he shares his talents with us every day. And now I'm here, a senior in high school, planning on making my next big step in pursuing a college degree in music education, largely because of Mr. Joubert's influence. Because next time a teacher asks me, next time a person asks me, what does a teacher make? To quote Taylor Molly, here, let me break it down for you so you know what I say is true. A teacher makes a difference. Now what about you?
Thank you very much, Emily. I'd like to now welcome Kylie Swift to the podium to present her Teacher with Character.
This teacher has greatly helped me throughout my years at Shawnee in more ways than one. She is a fantastic listener, gives great advice, and is overall an honest and genuinely good person. I nominate my Crystal Apple Award to Miss Weldy. I know I can count on Miss Weldy for anything that I need, and that is a really great feeling to have. During my freshman year at Shawnee, I experienced the tragic loss of my father. It was a very difficult time for me and my family, and I didn't really know what to do with myself. Soon after that happened, I came back to school, and Miss Weldy reached out to me. She told me that I'm not alone in this situation, and I can go to her with whatever I needed. She also invited me to join the grief group that she runs right here at Shawnee. Having the grief group has really helped me these past few years. I have met new friends, grown as a person, and always have support when needed. Miss Weldy has helped me become a stronger person and push myself to overcome any challenges that come in my way. She has inspired me to help others and be a shoulder to those who need it. I truly don't believe I'd be where I am today if it weren't for Miss Weldy and all she has done for me.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'd now like to invite Brendan O'Connor to the podium to present his Teacher with Character.
Okay. I'm not going to read my entire speech today, but there's a whole lot I could say about this particular teacher. And despite being fairly new to teaching in Shawnee, over the past 4 years, she's had a huge influence on all her students' lives. So, Ms. Kirk, I'd like to call you down.
All right, thank you. I'd now like to invite Margaret Bennett to the podium.
A teacher guides their students through an education course with great diligent effort. A teacher whom has achieved this to their fullest potential is Ms. Smith, my sophomore year biology teacher. All year she challenged the class. All year she challenged the class with questions that allowed us to all collaborate in groups and solve. Then Ms. Smith would gather the class and we would figure out the answers together. She always kept everyone in class involved. Through her questions and labs, I was able to think differently and have complex descriptive answers. Ms. Smith always gave us challenging and enjoyable labs to do each week. She let us do things on our own, which I liked most. I was able to work out the obstacles of a lab with my group, and if anyone ever got frustrated, she always helped, but in a way that allowed us to think without her giving us the answer. One day I wasn't feeling like myself, and we had a test. I did very poorly on it, and afterwards I talked to Ms. Smith about it. She stayed after with me and went over the questions that I got incorrect and made sure I thoroughly understood everything. She always makes sure her students know the information they're learning before the test and even afterwards. Before tests, Ms. Smith would always have extra help. I always look forward to going to extra help because she guided me to know what core points to focus on while I studied. I've never learned so much from one class before. Normally people leave the course at the end of the year, and when summer comes, everyone forgets everything they've learned. It's most challenging for a teacher to have their students enjoy class, work hard, and most importantly, remember everything. Figuring out what to do as a major in college is one of the most stressful and challenging tasks every teenager faces. I figured out what I wanted to do with my life in Miss Smith's class. She taught us many things about Earth and humans throughout the year. I was so fascinated by the facts she taught about animals, food chains, and DNA that I knew I wanted to go into a major involving food in relation to the human body. We did labs in class where we extracted DNA from smashed fruit. It was extremely fascinating to see how I could take a banana from my house and extract DNA out of it inside a classroom. She turned a simple lab that other students from different classes thought was boring and made it into one of the most memorable science experiments I ever did. Every day when I see Miss Smith, she always says hello to me with a smile. I've never had a teacher before who has put as much diligent effort into their job as Miss Smith. She focuses on every student and makes sure everyone is involved. She taught me how to think beyond a simple answer, and is the most memorable teacher I will most likely ever have.
Just, let's see here. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'd now like to invite Hannah Murray to the podium. Okay.
As my teacher of 4 years, Mr. Tindo has made a tremendous difference in my experience at Shawnee as the director of marching band and jazz band. On the surface, marching band probably comes across as does any other club or organization at Shawnee. It serves a function as entertainment at football games and is a fun activity for students, but for me, it has been so much more than that. Mr. Tindo has built up an amazing program that has taught me so much more than music. I have learned so many lessons, ranging from the importance of being on time to how to motivate and lead a group of almost 100 members to a state championship. He's shown me what it means to be passionate about your work at every rehearsal as he meticulously picks apart our show, giving his all to make us the best we can be. He's pushed me to work towards being the best leader I could be as drum major, working with me on his off periods to help me with conducting or discuss issues within the band. In jazz band, he patiently worked with me as I picked up a new instrument my freshman year and continues to work with me as I grow as a musician. The biggest thing that I have noticed about Mr. Tindo is how much of his time and energy he gives to the program purely out of love for the activity and his students. He is the only band director I've ever heard of who directs marching band and jazz band on top of music tech classes and 3 ensembles that meet during the school day. Mr. Tindo continually inspired me throughout my time at Shawnee, and the non-musical lessons I have learned from him will stick with me long after I've graduated. I cannot thank Mr. Tindo enough for the experience he has experiences he has given me in these 4 years, and I will certainly never forget my time in the Shawnee band programs.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to turn your attention to the TVs for our next presenter, Chris Bean.
I just want to get your opinion, Mr. Bookwater. It's a big project.
All right, I know. Ms. Anakis the other day just said Mr. Donaldson would be talking to me about this soon, so.
Yeah.
She told me that I wouldn't have to say anything about the STEM project. I'm here as a consultant.
Well,
I'm a consultant.
yeah, a critical consultant, because this is a big thing. Yeah.
All right.
All right, we're rolling, Chris, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Mr. Bookwalter is an extraordinary person and administrator. He makes a point to be friendly with all the students in the hallway, and I've always felt comfortable seeking guidance and sharing personal information with him. Thanks to Mr. Bookwalter's office doors always open policy, students enjoy working with him because of his genuine desire to help make our Shawnee experience the best it can be. His involvement in my high school career has inspired me to think differently through staying positive, overcoming obstacles, and finding solutions to problems. I have worked with Mr. Bookwalter in many different aspects during my Shawnee experience. He is a key influence with the Green Dot program, which I've been involved in since sophomore year. Through this program, Mr. Bookwalter exhibits a positive message of how we students can improve the culture of Shawnee High School. He is one of the Green Dot facilitators and has a great relationship with all the trained members because he is always asking us for suggestions. He helps us apply the anti-bullying messages and guides us to make good decisions and to act as role models for other students. I was also a student asked to participate in the No Place for Hate initiative that Mr. Bookwalter led. Through that initiative, I attended trips to a Holocaust museum and a No Place for Hate conference at the University of Pennsylvania. I was asked to make Shawnee TV segments for awareness and speak at the designation assembly. Because of this program, I realized that all the positive messages being spread through Shawnee High School and the surrounding community parallel Mr. Bookwalter's positive, compassionate, and supporting character. Both the Green Dot program and No Place for Hate initiatives have had a successful impact on Shawnee's culture, and the spark of change can be traced back to the behind-the-scenes leadership of Mr. Bookwalter. On a personal note, and you know what? That personal note is not actually in the script, so I'll just have to give it to you. On a personal note, Mr. Bookwalter has been such an important aspect of my high school career, and I remember there was a week of school that I had to miss right before finals last year. And you were the man who helped me, come up with an entire program, helped me basically make sure all my academics were in line, and really helped me to become, to finish the year successfully, and I really appreciate that. And throughout the entire year, this year, last year, my entire high school experience, you've been such an influential person, and you helped me think differently, to become positive all the time, and just to always, think on the bright side of things. And that's just, a few things of the many things that you do. So this is off script. This is just kind of going for it. I could be a lot more sincere, but come up here. I'm going to give you a crystal apple, big guy. I know. He thought I was doing an LDTV script for the viewers at home in the cafeteria during the faculty in service. But sir, here is an apple to put on your desk.
Chris,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
No,
This
thank
means a
you.
lot to me. Thank you.
This has been
Well done, guys.
something different. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, I'd now like to introduce Connor Pagano to present his teacher.
All right. When I first walked into this teacher's classroom, I wasn't too sure about her. No one could understand why I was feeling this way, and they all loved her. She found out that I loved taking pictures and asked if I would be the official lacrosse photographer. I was very excited to do this, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I realized that she was giving me a chance, so why not give her a chance? I attended all the games I could and took tons of pictures for her and her lacrosse team. At the end of the year, I was invited to the lacrosse banquet. I was asked to create a slideshow. When I showed the group the slideshow, I realized that my teacher was successful. Wait. All right. She wanted wins, but more importantly, it was about creating friendship and creating a family within the team. That's why I knew I could trust her and help me with my schoolwork. It was a turning point for my grades, and I realized she was there to help me, and she just wanted me to do well. I really feel she sincerely cares about me and wants me to succeed. She always invited me to huge lacrosse games and helps me get my photos published in Suburban Family and Medford Sun. Having the hindsight to be able to look back to my freshman year, and I realized this teacher has saved me. I know that I would be a different kid with a completely outlook of the future if it wasn't for her. I began doing well in school and wanting to be here because of someone who believed in me and gave me the ability to start believing in myself. She has made it her job to think differently about teaching. Not everyone studies or takes tests the same way. She goes the extra mile emotionally, not just with the words and books. She has gotten to know how I think about things. She knows how to motivate me to study and work hard at school. She knows that I need to take breaks while studying, so I stay interested. She always lets me. And hey, we found coordinating Halloween costumes this year. She is different than all my other teachers. I consider her to be a role model. I could talk to her about anything that troubles me. She has become one of my closest confidants. She is someone I wouldn't want to disappoint ever. 3 years later, I can see her plan has been genius. She wanted me to gain my trust and boost my confidence so that I would work extra hard in school. I'm not a huge fan of school, but over the years I have grown to like it because I have amazing teachers, especially the one I'm writing about this today. She works hard to figure out each individual student and helps them succeed. That's why my Crystal Apple nominee is Marisa McCormick.
Thank you very much, Connor. Okay, our last presenters are Michelle Thurthakara and Lindsay Jonas to present their teacher.
An educator with character who has helped me think differently is my honors pre-calculus teacher, Mrs. Wilson. Going up to an honors math class from a level 2 math class had been a real struggle for me. But Mrs. Wilson was always there for me, willing to stay after school day after day until I'd finally get it. Her patience and care were the only things that kept me staying afloat in that class. She taught me to work hard and have persistence. She would even give me extra copies of class worksheets so I could practice at home. I personally found it inspirational to hear of all the personal issues she had triumphed throughout her life, from epilepsy to breast cancer to dealing with me every day after school. She was truly a woman who could overcome any obstacle.
Whenever I think of Miss Wilson, I always think of her unique personality. She would never be afraid to tell me the truth despite what others think. She would always have a quick quip on hand and be ready to fire away. She would always support her kids who were struggling in class, and not only that, but she had a real passion for what she does. She cares about her student and what she's teaching them. I have her class first period, bright and early in the morning, and she's got the exuberance and pep that I don't usually get until maybe second period. That's why I love being in her class. Not only has she made math fun for me again, but she's given me a new perception on things by never giving up when all hope seems lost, which applies to me a lot in pre-calc. Mrs. Wilson has impacted my life for the better by making me want to try harder and harder until I can do my very best. Because of all this, there is no other way I could rather start my day by going to Miss Wilson's first period honors pre-calculus class. I'm such a bad speaker.
Thank you very much for participating today in the Crystal Apple. I'd like to ask all of the recipients to stay for a picture afterwards. And so this concludes our ceremony, but I wanted to thank all of the students today and all of the presenters and everyone in such an awesome job to celebrate learning. So thanks again and congratulations to all of the recipients.